Okay, hi everyone. Today we are here in episode 4 about how Malaysia is facing the global threat. There is no doubt that the pandemic will end one day. It is just a matter of time before a vaccine is created and distributed around the whole world, and we can all continue with our daily lives in a much peaceful manner. So, this is a quick recap on the episodes that we have done. Episode 1 was about the origins and the spread of the virus and how it became a pandemic, the restrictions that the government has taken, and the precautions as well. Episode 2 was about how the virus has affected the economy and the businesses worldwide, and also our own country's economy as well. Episode 3 was about how our country is facing this pandemic, the steps taken by the government, health ministries, and also the hospitals, and also how Malaysians feel about the pandemic overall. So in this episode, we will be discussing about the future happenings and how will the future be affected due to the pandemic. So Edwin, I would like to ask you, will the economy of our country change drastically or in stages?
Yes. I think the economy of country is definitely affected by the COVID-19 and the measures to contain its spread. So, based on a report, our Malaysian economy is projected to contract by 3.1% in 2020, which means we're going to see a slight reduce in our economy based on the World Bank's Malaysia's World Bank Economic Monitor. Not only that, but they have also predicted that uh, the growth is about will resume in 2021 around 6.9% as the outbreak eases. So, but the near-term outlook is currently it is uncertain for now. We can see that this COVID-19 pandemic and its safety measures taken has drastically reduced the number of business opened, how customers interact with the businesses, the SMEs that had to be closed down. And I think, based on your question, I think our economy will change in stages as slowly. For now, we have seen, businesses are starting to, open back, and sooner or later, I think the economy will slowly get back uh, to the normal.
Right. So the next question is, how will certain companies cope with their stocks as it decreases or increases after the pandemic ends?
Yes. If you see the stock market, uh, you know, certain big name players in the stock market, has been facing um, this, drastic shutdowns, slow reducing, and depends on how this coronavirus goes on, this crisis goes on. Will we find a vaccine or not? It depends entirely on that. This coronavirus crisis changes everything, and however the recovery pans out, many experts believe that the stock trading landscape has changed for good during this period. We can see different investment strategies must be taken into account, not just the obvious winners and losers from the pandemic, but also the changed reality of global business. Regardless of the shape of the recovery, there may be no going back, to the old ways. We can see that there have been certain travel disruptions over all around the world. The airline stocks has been reducing drastically because people cannot, travel due to the movement control order. Not only here in Malaysia, but in uh, every other countries as well. Beyond obvious conclusions regarding COVID-19 and the stock market, one outcome that we could see is markets favoring sectors and businesses that prioritize being resilient over being lean. Businesses that focus on how to handle their the business ways during this pandemic. For now, we can't just say that cost cutting will be the indicator of returns, but there would be increased risk and reduced resilience as we see. Okay. not only that, looking to the long term, I would say that organization could invest on a track record of responding and adapting to changes. That means, organization should focus on how to adapt during this difficult period and after this difficult period. You know, this relationship between COVID-19 and the stock market doesn't end here. There has been, traditionally, traders can make profit from others panic, but the pandemic has made the task more complex, sometimes, if not, maybe impossible. So in simple words, I would say that, how these companies handle uh, during their stocks and tradings during this difficult period, or on how they apply their investment strategy will be key. And they should not just panic, but they should plot their course through the market, ensure they are well diversified across different assets, industries, and locations, and also maintain a long-term vision. COVID-19 does not fundamentally changes everything, but it could be a cause for change in the stock market and also in the trading strategies.
Yes, that is some pretty good information there. So I would like to ask about your own thoughts about the future of our country.
Yeah, coming back here, being a resident here in Malaysia, we have seen how Malaysia has handled these coronavirus or this COVID-19 and this pandemic. We can see that, you know, the government has taken the right action, especially the Ministry of Health has taken, seriously this matter, and not just, uh, taking consideration based on other countries' influence. We could see our neighboring country, Singapore, is slowly, dramatically has been increasing the number of cases. Even though in our country the number of cases has started to reduce, the number of daily cases has started to reduce. But here in our neighboring country, Singapore, we can see that the number of cases is actually quite significantly more compared to here in Malaysia. And Malaysia is still reluctant on, traveling between Singapore and Malaysia. And we can see some of the Malaysians still, who work in Singapore is still there, waiting for official announcement on whether they could travel in between. In my opinion, I think the people should focus on, the safety measures that has been sanctioned by the government. They should follow that. Recently, we have seen the number of cases has slightly been increasing, even though we have this movement control order a bit reduced. But I would say that the people should be more, focused on the safety measures, and, for example, wearing masks, social distancing. They should follow and prioritize. And also not only people, but also the businesses and also SMEs, and also schools, universities. They should focus on maintaining the safety measures for the greater good. So I would say that it depends on how people work together, how the government and the people work together in handling this situation. That's all from me.
Yeah, I definitely agree that this is how it should be handled, and it definitely will be no surprise that a second wave of the pandemic is sure to come at any moment. So I would like to ask Thavan about what do you think about the second wave of the pandemic?
For a second wave to start, you will need a sustained rise in infections. For example, New Zealand, which has its first case after 24 days without coronavirus, and Beijing, China, which is facing an outbreak after 50 virus-free days, are not in this position. Yeah, that's all.
Right. So we can see that if we do not take this pandemic seriously, there will definitely be a second wave, and it will probably affect the future of our country if we do not take any precautions. So for the next question is, what will the businesses have to cope with after the pandemic has subsided?
Yeah, I think they will need to find a replacement for the staff that left the company because during this pandemic, the company had to let go of some staff to reduce the cost uh, maintaining it. So when everything is back to uh, they need people to fill in the gap for the jobs. If you see, for example, we take United States, over a few millions people in United States lost their jobs. So I think when everything is back to normal, they need to fill in fill the jobs with necessary fill the jobs with people. Yeah.
Right. So we definitely will. The businesses will definitely have to find new people after they have laid them off because of the pandemic. So, what are your own thoughts about the future of our country, as I have asked Edwin just now?
Yeah. If you see, uh, this pandemic is given a big impact on not only our country, it's worldwide. But for the future of our country, maintaining from the recovery of pandemic coronavirus, so we can draw our experience with the other outbreaks such as Ebola, HIV, SARS, TB, and malaria, as well as our long history. We have faced few pandemic before, so I think we can our country uh, f- um, will have will maintain the future efficiently after the recovery of coronavirus. Yeah.
Right, that is a good. Those are some good thoughts that you have. So now I will go for to Darish and ask him how will the education side of things, like say the opening of schools, universities, and colleges, be handled in the near future.
Yeah. So recently, when the COVID-19 cases started to decrease slowly, the government has reopened the schools, university, and college. So to ensure the COVID-19 from spread, they have handled it wisely, such as like students have taught earlier what the SOP that government has made, such as the social distancing, wear mask, and then maintain hygiene. And also universities and schools should reopen according to stages, such as like they should prioritize those classes that require face-to-face learning. For example, like programming and lab activities for engineering students. And also, parents play an important role to ensure this COVID-19 from spreading. They should ensure that their children with COVID symptoms such as cough, flu, and so on are not sent to school to prevent the spread. Yeah.
Right. So since the schools will be reopened and stuff, so do you think that it is better to leave the schools open, or is it better to have online classes for the next few years?
We never know like how COVID-19 will become in future years. So studying via online and face-to-face learning both have their pros and cons. Some students prefer to study online because they think that they can study at their own pace anywhere, anytime. Because unlike in traditional classroom setup, online learning allows them to study wherever and whenever they want. They don't really have to deal with commuting and heavy traffic, and they also can study comfortably in their home. And also, if we see face-to-face learning, the classroom help the students and teachers to know each other in better manner. This allows the teachers to know the students and evaluate their strength and weakness better, act as a mentor, and the guide the student in their career possibilities. So, from my opinion, both have their advantage and disadvantage. So, it truly depends on the student and the institute itself. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I have to agree with you there. It definitely depends on the student because everyone has their different opinions. So to ask about the fees of the university and college courses, because the pandemic has definitely taken a toll. Will the fees of the courses increase, or will it have or will it have extra costs to cope for any losses that might be had during the pandemic?
Yeah. The coronavirus crisis has led to a complete upheaval in the higher education world. So, with both classes and assessment shifting online for the remainder of the academic year in most cases, there have been costs of tuition fees to be reduced, which has caused significant debate among students and faculty. So, I think they should decrease the price because some students are suffering financially during this pandemic because their parents might have lost their job. They should decrease the cost to help the student to decrease their burden, and then so the fees should be decreased to help student to study and to maintain their financial issue.
Right. It's definitely a fact that some students really have financial problems due to their parents losing their jobs and other problems. So for the next question, I would like to ask Navin, how will this affect our e-hailing services such as Grab, Foodpanda, and other services in the long run?
Yeah, as you all know, the COVID-19 pandemic has taken a heavy toll on ride-hailing services like Grab and Foodpanda. As for Grab, the Southeast Asia's largest ride-hailing company, has also been impacted, but the company has adapted by quickly transitioning many of its ride-hailing drivers to its on-demand delivery verticals and expanding services needed by customers during social distancing measures. The company has told that its ride-hailing drivers saw their income decrease by about a double-digit percentage in April 2020 compared to 2019, in line with a double-digit drop in gross merchandise volume for Grab's ride-hailing business in some markets. Between March and April, more than 149,000 Grab ride-hailing drivers switched to performing on-demand deliveries. In some markets, the transition was done very quickly. For example, in Malaysia, 18,000 drivers moved to delivery in a single day. The platform also saw an influx of the new drivers' requests, many from people who had been laid off or furloughed, as well as merchants who needed a new way to make income.
Right. I guess it's definitely a no-brainer that some people who have lost their jobs will turn to e-hailing services such as Grab, Foodpanda to cope for the losses that they have made. So for the next
Yes.
question, how will our public transport companies cope with the fact that they will not be getting enough customers due to the pandemic, making our citizens a bit afraid to use public transport?
Yeah, public transport has also taken a heavy toll on during this pandemic. This has made the public afraid to ride in the transport, as they are afraid of contracting the virus. But one of the ways that public transport companies could do to attract the customers back to them is by having discounts. For example, uh, Rapid KL Transportation has provided a plan which is called My 30 that only costs 30 ringgit and is valid until the 31st December this year. What's so special about this plan is that people could use it unlimited. There's no limit to it. You could use it in any buses and trains that is under the Rapid KL Transport.
Right,
Yeah.
so that's a pretty good alternative that is provided by our public transport to help people deal with the pandemic. So for the last question, if given a choice to meet face to face for an important meeting or by using online applications such as Zoom, Skype, Google Meet, and such, which would you choose and why?
Mm, I will definitely choose. I mean, if it's not for the pandemic, I would have chosen the face-to-face interaction. But since we are in this pandemic, I will have to choose the online application in so that to avoid me from having a chance of getting COVID-19 when I when I meet people in the meeting. It's definitely not the best way, but it's the best way at the moment in to uh, to practice social distancing among people.
Right, that's definitely what I expected. But just in case I have to ask, because some people are not taking this pandemic too seriously.
Yeah.
All right, so we have heard what they had to say, and it is safe to say that the pandemic will definitely be eradicated in the near future, if not sooner. But we should still take precautions as to not be sloppy in dealing with the pandemic. We should also thank the frontliners, such as the doctors and the nurses and all the people who are helping our earth to deal with this pandemic. So I hope the listeners have learned a lot from us, and that is all for today. We hope you have a safe future as well, and goodbye.